Yo, what's up, everybody? This is Shad and I need the Reaper, Matrix Unlocked, the MLK assassination being declassified. And that's just one of them. I know RFK and JFK is also going to be declassified. But for the subject matter of this particular video, the MLK declassified. Now, not all the declassified information has came out yet, but I just want to go over some of the stuff that's already been made public, arouse people's attention, or so that way when they do drop all the information, we will be engaged. We'll start to just be in the right direction, right path. I do think it was about 45 days until the release that everything had to be presented to the White House. So I'm gonna get started. I got the website, FBI website, that has a lot of the declassified, or has a lot of the information regarding and surrounding Dr. King's assassination back in 1968. So let's jump right in. I'm gonna add this to the stage, and as you can see, Freedom of Information and Privacy Act. You know what I mean? Like, this looks very retro. I know it was 1968, but this almost looks like a elementary project from the writing and everything like that. All right, let's scroll down to page 14. The assassination investigations, events surrounding April 4th, 1968, the Poor People's Campaign. Now, if you guys are not familiar with the Poor People's Campaign, basically that was when Dr. King was trying to assemble all of the people across the United States of America and basically get some kind of economic plan, basically to build up a form of wealth so that all people could actually be involved in benefiting from economic empowerment. So, is that something that King gets criticized for? I could see why, because right now the focus was on the actual Black people that were here and having all of these issues. So I can see the criticism, but I think in all, it was something good-hearted for King. It sounds like Dr. King, something that he would actually want, because in fact he did strive for all people that had some form of oppression to reap the rewards of this being the quote unquote so-called land of milk and honey, where people also come to receive and get the American dream. Dr. King is also noted for fighting and helping assist immigration from around the world, where you had people that was being discriminated against, as far as Caribbeans and Africans, the people that we call in the diaspora. King also led the charge and led the way to actually get those individuals rights to come over, because at one point they were only really doing a lot of immigration for the European nation. That's another thing I feel like that a lot of the people that had parents that migrated here that are from the Caribbean islands, Africa, you know, King stood on business for you guys too. So, I see a lot of those memes that come out on social media around the time of Dr. King's birthday. And I feel like, it's a lot of stuff that we should hold sacred, but that's just, my personal opinion and me speaking on that. But okay, let's jump into it. The Poor People's Campaign. To understand the movement of Dr. King during this critical period, is necessarily to briefly discuss the Poor People's Campaign, originally called the Washington Spring Project, in which he and the SCLC, that's the Southern Christian Leadership Council, were involved. So you're going to see that name come up a lot. So even if I misquoted the acronym, we'll definitely go back over it. To begin the first week of April 1968, involved recruiting some 3,000 poor unemployed Blacks from 16 localities, in the United States, for the purpose of going to Washington, D.C. and partitioning the government to improve their economic status. So he was going to, rally the people up to go to D.C. and, get some kind of economic justice, because we do know that this land was divided up after it was taken. This land was divided up, and a lot of the people that got to reap the benefits of things like the Homestead Act, other things of that nature, were not us. So, we were not able to get in or get included in on those deals that were cut to the people in the late 40s, 50s, and 60s. So, as we do know, a lot of people have land in their family that's hand down, as far as generational wealth goes. And a lot of that land was given to those people on the Homestead Act. Don't always think just because somebody have land that pretty much they paid for it or they bought it. It was tons and tons of land given away. And Dr. King went over that in one of his speeches towards the latter part of his life. And he did start to talk about economic empowerment for Black Americans. who built pretty much the foundation of the country, he did started to speak on economic empowerment and looking back, saying that maybe I actually put my people in a worse off situation by being duped by these people that were claiming to be my ally. I do believe Dr. King was surrounded by a bunch of agents that were trying to co-opt his movement. I actually do believe that Dr. King was someone that they seen that they could pretty much galvanize behind and have some kind of control without the threat of violence. So I think he was more so what we call today the algorithm. He was more so put or help assisted to be put in the algorithm. Now, mind you, that doesn't take away, or granted, that doesn't take away from anything that I'm saying as far as, his ability to organize, speak to the people, galvanize or rally the people up. That doesn't go without, saying, Dr. King was probably one of the best speakers of our time. So he was that guy. But I think that they did take notice that this would be a more peaceful approach and, giving the people this nonviolent strategy. You know what I'm saying? I think that helped the government get close and infiltrate without, a lot of violence being sparked. Okay, so let's get down here. So the plan was to camp on the Washington Monument, Lincoln Memorial Grounds during the first and second weeks. Demands were made to congressmen and heads of departments, such as the Secretary of Labor. If the demands were not met, nonviolent demonstrations were to be conducted. Nonviolent again, okay? Dr. King planned travel scheduled for February and March included trips to 9 major cities and visits to various points in Mississippi. M.I. cricket letter. Yeah, I love that Mississippian mound culture. Alabama, South Carolina, North Carolina, home state right there, and Virginia. By February, Dr. King had become discouraged with the lack of progress in recruiting. So it sounds like it wasn't covering any ground. We didn't get much traction. He wanted to, get more people around. And then it looks here like when we go to page 15, it kind of describes how he got involved with the movement in Memphis. So it does say at some point, Dr. King was persuaded to alter his plans and go to Memphis. The plans was to do DC, but DC wasn't popping the way that they wanted it to pop. They couldn't get enough people at that time. I understand, because you're talking about poor people that's like they said, 3,000 poor unemployed people. It's kind of hard to galvanize that many people up, and they gotta finance their trip and stay in DC. So after not being able to mobilize enough people to go to DC, Dr. King's attention was directed towards Memphis in support of a strike involving the city sanitation workers. So the city of Memphis was going through this turmoil where the sanitation workers was striking. Yo, I don't care if you poor, middle class, rich. The sanitation people is the last people that we want to go on strike, because you talking about trash, recycling, all the waste. You know what I'm saying? Those brothers and sisters, for that matter, that get down and make sure these cities stay clean. You know what I'm saying? My hat goes off to those people. Here we are. We looking at a sanitation worker strike. So on February 12, 1968, approximately 1,000 sanitation workers employed by the city of Memphis called a wildcat strike. The strikers were represented by Local 1733 of American Federation of State, County, and Municipal Employees. Pretty much that's the narrative, okay? Here we go. We skip down to the second block. The NAACP intervened in the strikes because of all the sanitation workers, excluding the drivers, were black. Here we have the NAACP telling the people to stand down. They knew that this could cripple the city of Memphis because all of the sanitation workers, except for the people who were driving those sanitation trucks, were black.